2001, I began an assignment as the daily intelligence briefer for the newly elected President of the United States, George W. Bush. Again and again I would deliver warnings in the President's daily brief that were both ominous in their potential and frustrating in their lack of actionable specificity. You could not have lived through the day of 9/11 at the President's side and looked down from Air Force One at the smoldering ruins of the Pentagon, as I did, without becoming obsessed by the issue of terrorism, or vowing to do everything possible to prevent the recurrence of such a tragedy. In the decade that followed 9/11, the United States and its premier intelligence agency, CIA, had enormous successes in their fight against terrorism and a few significant failures. I was part of both. From CIA's failure to correctly assess Iraq's capabilities regarding weapons of mass destruction to the operation that brought Usama Bin Laden to justice. I also had to deal with the political backlash that occurred against the aggressive counter-terrorism programs put in place in the aftermath of 9/11. One issue in particular was CIA's use of harsh interrogation techniques to acquire information from captured senior al-Qa'ida operatives. A second was the NSA's operations to ensure that terrorists could never again take advantage of the pre-9/11 seam that had existed between overseas intelligence collection and domestic law enforcement. In early October 2013, just weeks after my retirement, I received a phone call from a good and trusted friend. He asked me to consider writing a book. I said no. That is not what professional intelligence officers do. But as I thought about the phone call, I changed my mind. Three things led me to this conclusion and to this audiobook. First, I wanted to tell the remarkable story of CIA's fight against the group that killed nearly 3,000 people on that beautiful sunny morning in September 2001. No department or agency has done more to keep the country safe than CIA, and I wanted Americans to know that. Second, without putting our operations at risk, I believed more can and should be shared with the American people about what the agency does every day. This is important because popular culture creates many myths about the agency. One is that the agency is all-powerful, that there is no secret it cannot steal or discover, no threat it cannot disrupt, and no adversary it cannot defeat. This is the Jack Ryan myth from countless Tom Clancy novels. Then there is the opposite view, that the agency is incompetent, made up of people who screw up everything they touch. This is the Maxwell Smart myth from the 1960s TV series Get Smart and the 2008 movie with the same title. Finally, and most perniciously, is the notion that CIA is a rogue agency, sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing, but always pursuing its own agenda, all without the authority, direction, or control of America's elected leaders. This is the Jason Bourne myth from the wildly popular book and film series. The truth is that all these myths are wrong. CIA gets many things right and a few things wrong. And in my experience, CIA officers always did what they thought was best for the country, and they undertook operations only with the approval, authorization, and direction of our nation's elected leaders. Creating an accurate picture of CIA is important, because the agency is a secret organization operating in a democracy, and the American people need to have confidence that the agency is functioning both effectively and within the Constitution and laws of the United States. Third, and most important, I wanted to tell Americans how deeply concerned I am about the threat that remains to our country from al-Qa'ida and various groups associated with it. The threat of terrorism has not gone away. It did not die in Abbottabad along with Bin Laden. It is going to be with us for decades to come, and as a nation we must be prepared. If we are not, we will, with certainty, face another devastating attack on our homeland. Taken together, these three reasons are why I decided to write a book and why I decided to focus it on the agency's fight against terrorism, the great war of our time. In July 2013, the threat reporting coming out of Yemen skyrocketed. The intelligence was clear. Al-Qa'ida in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, the al-Qaeda franchise most closely tied to the al-Qaeda leadership in Pakistan and the one posing the greatest threat to the United States, was planning